Welcome back to our Absolute Beginner series on programming in C Sharp. In the previous lesson, we looked at expressions and we saw different type of expressions. We saw expressions that return integers. We saw expressions that return floats, and we saw expressions that return strings. That's the different data types. And most importantly, we saw expressions that return Boolean. That's Boolean data types. That's the if, the true or false statements, the true or false data type. So in today, what we're going to look at is a very important control structure or control flow mechanism in programming. It's called the if else statement. Let's start by opening our program. That's the one we've been writing. So I open the folder on my desktop, my first app, and this is the solution. I double click on it to start Visual Studio. So Visual Studio is running now, so I'll minimize that. So this is what we have in the this is what where we stopped in the previous statement in the previous lesson. There is one thing before we look at the if else construct. I would like us, I think I forgot to mention a very important type of Boolean expression. If you remember, we saw this complicated type of expression, which is a Boolean. If you look at the data or the, the, the intrinsic data that are used to formulate this gigantic expression, that's this complex expression, each one of the intrinsic data in it are all Boolean. So for example, false is a Boolean data type, false is another Boolean data type. So we combine false or false to create this Boolean expression, and then we combine this Boolean expression with another Boolean expression, true, that is the result of this, and it with another Boolean expression. So what we used in to create this gigantic Boolean expression, that's everything here. Every single intrinsic data that was used in creating this Boolean expression is also a Boolean is also a Boolean expression. Okay, now for Boolean expressions, there are some special types of Boolean expressions that you don't actually use Boolean expressions to formulate Boolean expressions. What I mean by that is you can actually use different types of data, like you can use strings. Okay, you can use string data types to create a Boolean expression. You can also, unlike the string expression, if you remember, for string expressions you can only use string combination of as you concatenate two strings to create a gigantic string. Okay, for integers you normally use combination of int plus another int or int minus another int to create int expressions. So it's only Boolean expressions that actually have that property, in that for a Boolean expression you can actually create Boolean expressions by combining some different types of data using some specific special type of operators, and that is what we're going to look at. So I'll just remove this this line here, a third Boolean equals this, and I'll show you what I mean. So if you remember, we saw this symbol, that is the equal sign symbol, and I said this is not the equal to symbol. I think I mentioned that in the second lesson. Now, this symbol I said is the assignation symbol. So for example, if you write something like a third Boolean, and I use this equality symbol here, this is not the equality symbol, this is the assignation symbol. What this means is that, remember, this is a variable. We declared it here, and we said we're going to be storing Boolean data type in. Now, by putting this equality symbol here, the single equal sign, it's saying take whatever is on the right hand side. Whatever I write on the right hand side here has to be a Boolean expression. Okay, whatever I'm going to write here has to be a Boolean expression. If I write 2, for example, 3, for example, 3 is not a Boolean expression on its own. This is an integer. So I cannot store an integer into a Boolean expression. However, I want you to look at this. If you write something like 3 double equal sign 2, okay, I know this is very confusing, but I'll explain. Now, what I'm saying is this: if you look at it now, it's no longer complaining. This is a valid statement. This is a correct statement, because the reason is this thing on the right hand side is a Boolean expression. I'll explain why it's a Boolean expression. This single equality symbol is saying take whatever is here and store it inside here. Remember, whatever is going to be on the right hand side is going to be either true or false. Okay, it cannot be anything other than true or false. Now, how is this a Boolean expression? The reason why this expression here is a Boolean expression, even though we have an integer here, another integer here, and in between them we have what we call the equality operator. Okay, you use the equality operator to test the equality of two different numbers, not just numbers. Let's just say two different objects, or two different data types. I think that's more appropriate. Two different data types. Okay, now when you use the equality operator, the left hand side of that equality operator, that's this. Remember, we're not considering everything from here to here, we're only considering this. The left hand side of the equality operator, the data type has to be the same with the data type on the right hand side of the equality operator. Okay, now the left hand side, if you look at it, is 3, which is an integer, and the right hand side is 2, which is another integer. So this makes this expression a valid Boolean expression. Now the next thing, what is the value of this Boolean expression? Remember, it has to be true or false. Now, to know the value of this Boolean expression, it's very, very simple. I think you just look at it as an equality symbol. Okay, is 3 equal to 2? That's the question you should ask yourself. If this is true, if this 3 is equal to 2, then this is going to return true. Okay, so if this is equal to, if 3 and 2 are equal, this Boolean expression is going to return true. However, 3 is not equal to 2. Therefore, that makes this Boolean expression return false. So false is going to be stored inside this third Boolean expression. I just hope this makes sense. Let's take another one and see. Let's say a third Boolean is equal to 3 is greater than 1. Okay, now this is another special operator which you can use in creating Boolean expressions with uh, different data types other than booleans. That's 3, which is an integer, and 1, which is an integer, and in between it we have this greater than symbol. Now this greater than operator tests if the left hand side is greater than the right hand side. If the left hand side is greater than the right hand side, this is going to return true. If it is not, that's if the left hand side is not greater than the right hand side, is going to return false. Also, if the left hand side happens to be equal to the right hand side, it's also going to return false. What I mean by that is, suppose this is 3. 3 is greater than 3. Because 3 is not greater than 3. Remember, 3 is equal to 3 in your mathematics. 3 cannot be greater than 3. 3 is equal to 3. So this greater than symbol, this expression here is going to return false. The same thing if this is 5 here, this expression is going to return false. Okay, now if you look at it, even though this and this are integer data types, the fact that you're using a special operator in between them, it makes this return a Boolean expression or a Boolean data type. Okay, the same thing with this. Let's look at the remaining special operators that we have. They are not much, so we can look at all of them. A third. By the way, I said this is going to this will return false because 3 is not equal to 2. This will return false because 3 is not greater than 5. And then we have a Boolean equals okay, let's say 5 is less than 10. Okay, by the way, don't forget, by putting this double /, remember what this means. It means it's telling the computer to disregard whatever comes after this, okay, including the double /. Is going to disregard everything here because we're just writing this to make a comment. Okay, so what will happen here is that 5 less than 10, true. Yes, 5 is less than 10, so this will return true. Okay, so if this program should run at this point, false is going to be stored inside this third Boolean expression. Okay, when it comes to this line, that's this, by the time it executes this line, false is going to be stored again inside here. So it will just replace the false that was there with another false. Okay, so the value remains the same, even though we've changed the okay, ideally we haven't really changed it. We haven't really changed the value because previously it was false inside. But if you remember what I told you about variables, is when you have a variable, when you call that variable and you provide a value for that variable and you use this equality symbol, it's going to take out whatever was there in there before and then replace it with whatever you provide it with. So even though we're changing false with false inside here, we're not really changing the value of a third Boolean variable. However, in this, by the time the computer executes this line of code, it's going to replace the false that was stored inside a third Boolean variable with true, because this is going to return true. By the time the compiler reaches here, a third Boolean variable is going to have what's stored inside. True will be stored inside. Okay. So we've looked at equal, greater than, less than. We still have other a few more special operators for the Boolean, for converting integers to Boolean. Another one we have is a third. By the way, let's not forget, it's not just integers. We can use floating point numbers, we can use strings. However, for strings, remember, just a few. Anyway, let's just take it slowly. Let's finish with the integers and we'll see. Let's finish with the numbers, because for the integers and the floats, it's the same rule regarding them. Okay, so what I mean by that is the same thing happens whether this 3 and 2 are integers or they are floating point numbers, that's decimal numbers. However, it becomes different if 3 and 2 are strings. Okay, so a third Boolean, we can do something like 2 minus 1. Okay, let's put that. Remember, I said whenever we have complicated operations, always enforce it with brackets. 2 minus 1 is less or equal to 1. Good. Now, what this means, this is the special operator. Okay, I'm just trying to show you that you can actually, you're not limited by the complexity of the expression you create here. You can actually do a lot. Remember, this expression is an int expression, and what it returns is another int. So imagine everything here is similar to what we just did here, because everything here is similar to this, because 5 is an int, 2 minus 1 is eventually going to return an int. Okay, and then in between that we have the special operator. This special operator is a combination of a less than and an equal symbol, which denotes less or equal to. Okay, and then on our right hand side we have another integer. So what happens is, first of all, it's going to compute this, and by the time it compute this, the result is going to be 1, and then it now checks 1 is less or equal to 1. Is that true? Yes, it's true, because it's saying it is less or equal to, so it can fall in both categories. If this was 0, it will still return true, because 1 is, oh sorry, not that, is less or equal to 2. If this was 2, it will still return true. Okay, however, if this is 0, it will return false, because 1 is not less than 0 and 1 is not equal to 0. Okay, so this is going to fail. We just read this as less or equal to. Okay, so this will let's use 1 here. This will return we said it will return true. So by the time this statement gets executed, true is going to be stored inside this third Boolean expression. Okay, let's quickly look at the others. There's also third Boolean. There's also something like let's do something crazy. Okay, I'm going to show you something very crazy. You can actually combine Remember, by the time you do something like this, what gets returned is a Boolean expression. You can take this and then combine it with another operator, a Boolean operator, and combine it with another Boolean expression. What I mean by that is this. Let's use greater or equal to symbol here. So 5 plus 1 is, okay, let's use the brackets. Remember, I said always enforce brackets. 5 plus 1 is greater or equal to, this is how you write the greater or equal to symbol. So you put the greater sign first, then follow it by an equal symbol. 5 plus 1 is greater or equal to, let's say 2. Then put this in brackets. Okay, I want to show you something. And then and now remember this, and this is a Boolean operator. Okay, it's used in between two Boolean operators. And 2 minus 1 is less than 3, and then we put our semicolon. Look at how crazy this expression is. Okay, let's not even stop there. Let's add something. Okay, let's put let's combine everything here. So I'm adding another bracket, meaning I should take everything here and then OR it. Remember the OR symbol, two vertical lines, OR, and we add true. Okay, we already have a semicolon. Good. Now look at how crazy this is. Remember, this is the greater or equal to symbol. Let's go over it and see what happens. First is going to compute 5 plus 1, which returns 6, right? 6 is an integer. It checks 6 is greater or equal to 2. So at this point, 6 is greater or equal to 2. 6 is actually greater than 2. So this is going to return true. Okay? When it returns true, notice how I put this in bracket. This is the bracket, by the way. This second one. Everything here returns true. Okay? It keeps it aside. Now it comes to compute this. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 is less than 3. True. So this also returns true. This on the right hand side returns true. This on the left hand side returns true. True and true also returns true. And then everything here returns true. And then we OR it with true, which also returns true. So true is going to be stored inside this third Boolean. I just want you to, I know this is very complicated, but I just want to show you that you are not limited by any way in the kind of, or in the complexity of the Boolean expression you create. Okay, you can combine any type, as long as you stick to the rules. Okay, whenever you use this operator, remember this operator can only be used between numbers. Okay, so that's 5 plus 1. Actually, when we look at classes, you will see what we call operator or overloading, but don't worry about it now. For now, just keep it in your mind that these operators, this, and okay, not the equal symbol, can actually be used in between other data types, but 1, 2, 3, 4 can only be used between numbers. Okay, they can't be used between data types of string. So the rule you should stick to is always make sure you have numbers on the left and right hand side when you use these operators, okay? And then whenever you use these operators, that's the ampersand, the double ampersand, the and operator, the or operator, these boolean operators, always make sure that the left hand side and the right hand side of the operator are boolean expressions, okay? I think that's all. Okay, there's also the not, which you can combine with the equal, the greater than, the less than, the less or equal to. What it does is it just negates. So for example, if we add a not here, that's, don't forget, the not is the exclamation symbol. That's not. This means not less than, okay? Whenever you combine the not with an operator, it's just negating that operator, okay? So this is the not less than. However, for the equal symbol, to use the not equal to, you remove one of the equal symbol and you put the exclamation point, okay? And you always put the exclamation point before the operator. So for example, a third boolean equals this now. This expression, oh sorry, my mouse is going crazy. Sorry about that. This expression now returns true, okay, because it negates this, because it's saying 3 is not equal to 2, which is actually true, okay? So this will return true if you use a not equal to here. So these are actually all the by the way, don't forget, you can also use the not operator with together with all these the greater than, the less than, the less or equal to, the greater or equal to. All you need to know, if you know the value when you use the less or equal to symbol, when you use the not, it's just the opposite of the value when you use the less or equal to. So for example, here we said this whole expression is going to return true. If I use a not here, this whole expression is going to return false, okay? However, you have to be careful. By putting a not equal to here, that doesn't mean the whole value of the whole expression is going to be the negative of the previous one. No, that's not how it works. How it works is, if I use a not here, see what happens. 5 plus 1 is 6, okay? It only negates this particular portion, okay? So you have to recompute everything to know what is going to return. So what I mean by that is 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 is not greater or equal to 2, which is false. Remember, before this was true, now this becomes false, okay? And then we AND it with this, which is true. This is true, this is false. When you AND false and true, the value is false, okay? And then at the end of it all, we OR this with true, which returns true. So that makes my point valid. So even though we add a not here, it didn't actually affect what was going to be returned into what was going to be stored into this a third boolean variable. So this is what I mean. This expression, everything here, actually returns true, okay? Also, even if you remove this not symbol here, the expression still returns true, okay? Even though it changes this, but because of this bit, it still returns true. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I think I've gone too long in explaining the different special operators. I think maybe we should move ahead. It's always a good idea to go back in the video and replay it if you're not sure, or if you're not clear about any topic. Okay, let's look at, remember I said it's only the equality test symbol, this one, that can be used between strings. So a third boolean, let's say upper equal upper. Now what do you think will be returned here? Remember, this is a string data type, this is a string data type. Now what will be returned is actually going to be false. The reason it will return false is because this BBA are small letters, okay, and this BBA are capital letters. Remember I told you C# is case sensitive, whether it's string or whatever. C# is case sensitive, so this equality test is going to return false. However, if this was in capital letters, it will just check, is this string the same as this string? If they're the same, it will return true. So like in this instance, this will return true, and true will be stored inside this third boolean variable. Okay, it's as simple as that. For string data types, as this is a string, this is a string, you cannot use less than symbol. Okay, that's this, you can't use that, it's not allowed. Yeah, exactly, I thought so. You can't use this, it's not allowed. You cannot use a greater than symbol, you cannot use the not less than or not greater than. However, you can use the not equal to symbol, this one. Okay, you can use the not equal to symbol. So for example, this upper is not equal to upper, both are in capital letters, they are actually equal. So this is not equal to this is going to return false, because they are actually equal, and the operator is saying test if they are not equal. Okay, so this will return false. If this is confusing you, if the not equal to symbol is confusing you, whenever a not equal to symbol is combined with any operator, okay, what you do, if the not equal to, and if the combination is confusing you, just eliminate the not and use the normal operator. Okay, what does it give you? It's easier to see that this equal this is going to return true. Okay, this will return this, sorry, this will return true. It's very easy to see that this will return true. Why was I using semicolons here? These are comments, so it doesn't matter if you use a semicolon or not. Okay, what I was saying is it's easier to see that this will return true. Okay, now for you to know what happens if you add a not here. So since you know without the not the normal symbol will return true, if you add a not, just negate this, so this will now return false. Okay, this will now return false. That's just, it's as simple as that. If you have an operator which causes a particular test, that's a particular boolean test, to return a certain value, so if it's true, if you combine that operator with the not operator, it's just going to negate, it's going to change. So if initially it was true, it's going to change it to false. If initially it was false and then you add the not, it's going to change it to true. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So I think that brings us to the end of this. Yeah, I remember I said in this lesson we're going to look at if else construct. It's funny, we've taken so much time in looking at this special type of operators that convert different data types to Boolean. But I'm not sure if it's a good idea to stop here or we should go ahead and look at. No, I think it's a good idea to stop here. It's better to just take everything slowly. And in the next lesson, we'll look at the if else construct. Okay.